Hey, everybody. Welcome into the podcast, The Counter Show, where we are here to fulfill your needs for information about the automotive world and beyond. Hey, Keith, how are you, sir? Boy, we got a lot to talk about today, right?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yes. Wow. I just can't even begin to imagine what we're going to title this one and keep it G-rated.
Yeah, pretty much, man. No doubt about it. There's a lot going on right now there's some big things going on. It's what's interesting is that in the short amount of time that we've been into 2021, it just seems like nobody's resting. There's just so much happening after the new year hit, and there's a lot to talk about, and it's a lot in the automotive industry, period. A lot, worldwide. I saw something the other day about some of these big blackouts, rolling blackouts, and stuff like that going on. So power grid issues going on.
Must be everybody charging their EVs all at once, same time.
Must be, man. Something to that effect. Yeah.
I hope I'm kidding. I'm going to get hate mail.
Yeah.
We welcome your letters.
Absolutely, we do. Hey, so speaking of EVs and stuff like that, we've got some interesting topics that we're going to talk about today. So we'll go ahead and give you some of that information. First of all, there was something that was revealed recently that we want to talk about today, give you a little overview of that and our thoughts on it. Looks like Jeep has decided to jump on board with another model. They revealed the Grand Cherokee L. Some interesting things that they added to this thing. It's truly a luxury vehicle for sure. It always has been. But it's quite nice. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit and get into some discussions on the ongoing saga of GM and Nikola, and just some of the other GM news that's floating around out there that, live. Not to mention they've decided they want to change their logo too. So let's get into that in a little bit. But we've got some news to talk about. Wow. Live from the counter desk. All right. So, what should we get into first, Keith? I think that you probably were you found a lot of this stuff, man. And I find a lot of this stuff interesting.
Let's talk about your hat and how it ties into we got a news segment on that. So for those of you that don't know, Ken Block,
yes.
You may not know the name if you're not a huge, I guess, racing, rally, drift.
Racing, yeah.
But where most of you that aren't into those things specifically would know of him is for his drift videos on YouTube, where they're called, I think, what is it, Gymkhana? GYM.
Gymkhana Files, yeah.
So he'll literally, I think the first one, there was somebody standing and he was drifting around them without running them over. And so then they just kept kind of raising the bar. One of them, he drifted up and down Pikes Peak. And if you... if you watch the footage,
I just want to be one of the. Yeah, he did, but I can't imagine the adrenaline that guy must be pumping through those veins as he's, going through this. But to be one of those camera guys, one of the guys in the chopper, these guys go all out for the production on this stuff, man. And it's if you've never watched the Gymkhana Files, I think that I've pronounced that correctly. Gymkhana, Gymkhana, whatever.
It's on what's it? Prime Video? Is that right?
Amazon Prime. Yeah. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and again, it's just the effort that these guys put into this whole process. It's just so fun to watch, and he's just such a awesome driver, man. I mean, blows me away. He's impressed a lot of people in the racing world.
So
to this day.
The other way that you might know him is the Mustang that they call the Hoonigan, which is a 60s model Mustang that they just put into total beast mode. It's got the, like cut out in the hood where half the engine's sticking up, and I'm not talking about just an air intake. I'm talking about like flames shooting out the hood, right?
Right, right. What they call those things? The Hoonicorns?
Hoonicorn, yeah. And basically they put, what was it, like some crazy amount, like over 1,000 horsepower in these Mustangs.
Oh, yeah, ridiculous. All-wheel drive on one of them, too, or something? Or it's just crazy, man. Crazy.
So Ken is in the news because, and by the way, if you have not checked any of this stuff out, it is highly entertaining. There is a lot of skill that is involved in this. It takes a huge crew to pull a lot of this stuff off.
Big time.
My son knows him from the Forza racing games because that car is featured heavily in those games. But Ken had a long contract with
probably
Ford.
Him flying over right now, man.
Right. I hear it. And Ken's contract with Ford, he raced rally cars for Ford. Right. Like he is an actual rally car racer.
He started out with Subaru, though, right?
He did start out with Subaru. The contract with Ford just came to an end, and people have pointed to the fact that even as he was announcing, "Stay tuned for more," you can see some Subarus. I think they were at least one WRX in the background. So that would be a good get for Subaru. Now Ken's what is he, 57? He's in his 50s.
Yeah, which is really kind of for a guy his age. Typically, people like him have already retired. They're off the grid. They're fishing somewhere, man. But this guy just continues to pump out content, man. So he's very marketable for a brand.
That's really it. He's the baseball pitcher. He's the Yadier Molina, right? So name brand. He's a free agent, but
look.
Yeah,
I got a Hoonigan hat on, man. Thank you, by the way. This is a great, awesome gift. I love this thing. Goes well with my my head.
It
fits well, man.
Your Mustang with the flame, with the spark arrest shooting
my
out.
Hoonigan.
Right. So, so it's, again, just interesting. Stay tuned. We'll see I don't think he's done.
No, of course he's not. And I watched the video, and there's some hints dropped here and there. And kind of, for me, if he was to go back with Subaru, it kind of makes sense because Subaru's, they've got the new BRZ that's going to be redesigned, even over what's out now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll just pay attention to that. We'll keep you up to speed on where that goes. But he certainly had an impact on Ford. Who knows, man? Dodge may jump on it. He can Hoonigan anything, man. If it's got wheels and a motor, man, he's in it.
And honestly, I think Ken is such a marketing. He's probably more interested in the brand marketing opportunities than he is what particular brand he drives. Like he doesn't care what car he drives. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna redo whatever it is he drives. It's gonna be fully customized for him anyway.
Absolutely. With EVs, taking hold the way they are too, it wouldn't surprise me. And I kind of in a way, it's too bad for Ford because they got the Mach-E that's slated to be arriving. Or is arriving as we speak, and that would have been cool to see him do something with an all-electric vehicle.
There is
with Ford. Did he do something with? Yeah. That's right. He did during the reveal.
Yep.
He did something. That's right. He did.
Yep. And
that's right. I totally forgot about that, man.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So he's already done that. But there's a lot of other EV players, coming in. So. We'll see what happens. That ought to be fun. So, yeah, cool. Well, I hope Ken finds a home. I know he will.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure his staff
smart.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to do the right thing. And no matter where he goes, he's going to be successful. I'm pretty sure of that. And whoever signs him on, they're going to reap the benefits from it too. So, hey, Ken, just if you're listening, pal, I can always use another hat. So wherever you land, whatever team you land with, man, just let us know, and we'll be glad to wear that apparel for you. So
they are very good. That team is very good with social media too. So
yes, they are.
Just saying,
Podna.
Two people on this podcast. I know you have more than one style of hat out there, Ken. All right. Anyway, moving on.
Right on, man. All right. So next on the list, man. Wow. Okay. So you want to go Bosch?
Yeah. So this is kind of a man. When we started this podcast, I joked, what are we going to call this? There's a lot of controversy in today's show. Oof. There's a lot of, I don't know, just stinkers, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It really is, man.
So why don't you go ahead and fill us in on...
Yeah, so Bosch, when you walk into an auto parts store, everybody knows, you got Bosch wipers. They're brands on just about everything automotive, but they're heavy into electronics, batteries. They manufacture batteries, or in that realm, I should say, or were becoming to be or wanting to be a big player, but they've decided to kind of walk away from that, and which I find interesting because they're like one of the number one producers of the electric motor for EVs.
So now when I think of Bosch, now this is a German company, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
I really see them as, now I don't know if this is intentional on their part or not. They are another Denso. Now, you know who Denso is.
Absolutely.
For those of you that don't know who Denso is a huge Japanese components manufacturer. They make a lot of parts for Toyota. Go ahead, Jay.
Bosch in Germany is to Denso in Asia.
Yep.
Denso
made cell phones for Sprint for a while. We looked at dishwashers a while back. If you live in the Midwest, we looked at dishwashers. And
I've got Bosch appliances here.
They make appliances. Yep. To your point of making electronics.
Yeah.
They are a major components manufacturer.
Absolutely.
And so they've got electronics experience for sure, right? But you look at what this guy is. What did he say, Jay? Can you find the statement?
Yeah, absolutely. So and this is really no different than Toyota's CEO just said the same thing. And the bottom line is that
this is Bosch's chairman.
Right. Everyone knows that even electric cars in the German and European electricity mix, contrary to what is often claimed, are not climate neutral. So the bottom line is the vehicles would be, he goes, the vehicles would be treated as zero CO2 vehicles because the generation of the charging current would be hidden. In addition, the manufacturer of the batteries consumes a lot of electricity. In Asia, a very high proportion of this still generated with coal-fired power plants. Fehrenbach thinks that these emissions are missing from the information on CO2 consumption. That's controversial. That's a controversial statement.
Let's look at, there's a couple different things here that I want to pick apart. Now, you and I may not agree on this first one. I will say this. What he is saying there, we on this program have pointed to before. We have a podcast that we did. We have a video on YouTube where your electricity comes from. We took a map of the United States. We broke it down state by state. We called out some of the big states. And, there's a percentage. Some of them, like I think Washington was it almost 50% hydroelectric?
Hydroelectric, yeah.
Okay. So this guy's point is, and it's a valid point.
It is.
That electricity does not necessarily always come from solar power or hydroelectric power or
correct
something that doesn't produce carbon emissions. So for all you EV manufacturers out there, and Gavin Newsom's the easy target where, the governor of the state of California declared, we're just going to go all EV by 2035, Jay?
Right. Yeah,
and then we just high-five each other and, walk away and call ourselves, friends of the environment. Not necessarily. It depends on where you're getting that electricity.
Some of it does.
Can be coal. Some of it's is natural gas powered, right? So
that's right.
The point this guy's making is you can't just go, well, we're climate free. We're, carbon free. We're high five, everybody. Good job. Mission accomplished. Nope. Depends on where you are getting your electricity. I'm not smart enough to really know beyond that, but I know there's some truth to that. The other thing that I wanted to go at here, which you pointed to, Jay, is so the guy then just says, we're not doing EVs.
Right.
Excuse me?
We're not. Yeah, we're just not going to work on the. We're going to bail on the battery technology. We're not going to go there.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's a
why?
mistake.
Because it's not trending.
Well, he's basically he is the way I read it, the way I understood it. He is saying that this is maybe a pipe dream that we invest all this money and our energy into developing these batteries for all the wrong reasons, because it's still not going to be emission free.
I could be right.
Yeah, right. And I get that. And I don't disagree with that. But you have to get there. We are not there yet to be completely emission free.
Okay, so you mentioned Toyota. Now we think, and man, I've got so much to say about Toyota, and I hope we get to this in a future podcast, because there's some stuff going on in that organization right now that is it's a real head scratcher. But
it is.
We think, and again, we have mentioned this on this program, we think Toyota is playing the long game. So they're not going all in on EVs because they might be looking at a Gen 3 scenario with solid state EVs or an alternative fuel like hydrogen or something like that. We don't know, but to just assume that Toyota is going to go, yeah, we're not getting into the EV world, that's not necessarily an accurate statement.
No, it's not. I mean, they've dabbled into the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid stuff.
Yep.
And that's not... I think, and I agree with you. I think Toyota's playing the long game. I don't think we've seen the reveal as to what they're behind. I think that's coming soon.
But see, who knows, man? Because then they roll the Supra out, and it's basically a product made by BMW. I just don't know what they're thinking. But I digress. If you want to check out some of that previous conversation where we talk about Toyota, and was it the Dyson episode where we talked a little bit about...
It was the Dyson episode. Good memory, pal.
If you're watching this on... If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. You can then you'll be alerted every time we release one. Check out our channel. What is it? YouTube.com/Parts Counter Gurus, Jay?
You got it, friend.
And
you got it.
You can find all that info. And then our podcast, you can also find every episode on our website at partscountergurus.com. So there you go.
That's it. Yeah. Sign up.
So do you think this, the chairman of Bosch, do you think that he is there? Here's what I think. Maybe he's not saying we're done, right? I think maybe he's saying we're just not going to do first or second generation battery technology for these EVs.
I think so. Look, they're very capable of doing what they're doing. Maybe, they know something we don't know. Maybe there's somebody with a new technology out there.
I think that's it.
That they're just kind of waiting.
Say that again. We need to, so that I don't have to wind it back.
New technology.
No,
there's someone out there with new.
They know something we don't know.
Oh, well, of course, yeah. They know something we don't know.
There you go.
And what we're here to do is to try to find that out and get to the bottom of it. So you do know, and we do know. But right now, as it stands, I don't know what the motivation is behind his comments and the move that they're making, because they are heavy. They are a heavy supplier to the original equipment manufacturers, OEMs.
Yeah. Internal combustion.
Internal combustion. Electronics. Period.
Right.
It doesn't have to be an internal combustion engine. Electronics. Period. They are heavy into that, man. So
here's what he's not doing. He's not saying, yeah, we think we're just moving on from that. We're not going to service that industry anymore. That's not the play.
Not it. It's just one small sector of what they do that they've decided to kind of take their resources and go elsewhere with it for the time being. Now, does that mean that there's a third party out there working on this stuff that they're kind of like, funding that we don't know about?
Well, they've bought. What was their purchase recently that tied them into some of this? I'm talking about on the EV technology. There was an acquisition.
CEO, SEEO is the name of the company.
Yes.
CEO Inc.
Yeah.
They were a solid state battery startup.
There you go.
Yeah, and that was in 2017, but then they just totally, abandoned that, apparently. So here's what the statement says. In 2017, Bosch, they bought the solid state battery startup CEO Inc., which is SEEO. and has been sparsely revealing details about its plan to bring new battery technologies to market by 2020 with a 50 kilowatt per hour battery pack weighing only 190 kilograms, but it never committed resources to start producing cells. Later that year, the company confirmed that it was considering a 20 billion pound, 20 pounds, is that correct? Or
you're talking about the currency, yes.
Or euro, excuse me, euro.
20
billion euro investment to create 200 gigawatts of battery cell production capacity by 2030. The move would have brought them to the same level or even higher than battery manufacturers like Panasonic, LG Chem, Samsung, and CATL. However, Bosch announced in 2018 that it will not go through with the plan, and instead it even completely divested from its battery cell production assets, stating that it was too risky. Wow. How is that? How is it too risky? I mean, somebody is developing this stuff.
Yep.
Somebody has the technology, or else GM, Ford, all these manufacturers.
Same decision Dyson made.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Stepped out of it and went. I'm taking my dump trucks full of money and we're leaving.
Yep. So this will be interesting. What do you think? What are your thoughts behind that? Do you think that there's, is there a merger coming that we're not aware of? Is there a new technology that's just on the horizon that we're not aware of?
I think they're playing the long game. I think they've got insight into some things that we don't. Like, look, in 2007, they were talking solid state batteries. That's way ahead of the Tesla phenomenon, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
They're probably continuing that, and they are peeling back layers of the technological onion, so to speak. And they're into something right now that they think is going to be a game changer.
Right.
We will probably find out about that in the next year or two. That would be my guess. I think so too.
Now, keep in mind that this. In 2018, late 2018, they kind of abandoned it. So this is pre-pandemic. So the pandemic, the COVID did not really have any bearing on this. This was a company decision.
And if anything, it gave them more time for R&D because they could just blame COVID for production delays, and they could continue to develop, right? Like research,
right. Or maybe they're making dishwashers. No, that's it.
Almost bought one.
I've got one.
So
I've got the whole kitchen is Bosch appliances, man.
I like them, man. They're
Hey, Bosch CEO, can I get a hat?
That's awesome. You can find us at partscounterguru.com. Click on the Ask Us a Question tab at the top, and you can leave us a message. Or there is a Sponsor Us tab, Bosch, if you are so inclined, and we'll talk.
We'd be glad to have your banner up on our.
We have a parking spot open in that garage right now, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Okay, so 2018, Jay. No, I digress. 2019, we did a whole lot of talking about Tesla.
We did,
and that was kind of our thematic topic of the year. It just kept coming up. I would joke that nary a podcast episode goes by that we don't have something to talk about that's related to either Elon Musk or Tesla, right?
Yeah.
In 2020, we spent a lot of time talking about utter chaos, end of the world, end times kind of, pandemic kind of stuff, because that's just what dominated everyone's thoughts.
Right.
This is my prediction for 2021. Are you ready for this?
I am so ready, man.
We've been sort of leading up to this. I may be wrong here. I feel, just, ear to the ground, kind of, made a couple phone calls to Miss Cleo. Is she even still around? I don't.
I don't know, man.
I think 2021 is going to be our year to have to deal with Apple. And when I say deal with Apple, I mean maybe in a what the heck are they doing kind of way. We've already kind of started discussing that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're done.
Right. I'm with you.
Now, case in point, news came out of Seoul, South Korea.
Yep.
Where I believe Hyundai is headquartered.
Right. And I'm kind of excited about this.
You just like to see me get fired up about Apple.
I do, but I'll say I'll go ahead.
Apparently, and I'm kind of surprised Apple didn't this is a big no-no with Apple. You don't talk about anything before Apple talks about it. And
right.
Apparently Hyundai and Apple have signed or plan to sign a deal. I'm getting this off of auto.com.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
But the report says that they're working on an autonomous electric vehicle or an electric car.
Right.
And there's a statement that was made by Hyundai that it was in talks with Apple, and they're looking at 2027 as their target release date for a self-driving electric car.
Yeah, and just so you know, they had, like you said, they've penned the deal. They haven't signed it and completely agreed on it. That's supposed to come in late March. And then if the deal goes through, the language states that they will begin production as early as 2024 in the U.S., and that is reported by Korea IT News.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's Project Titan, I believe is what they called it, that many years back was widely known that Apple was working on their own car. For whatever reason, they shelved that. My suspicion is they shelved it because they didn't have the expertise in some automotive-specific areas to really do it right.
We said that. Yeah, absolutely, man. Apple. People were speculating that these buildings were that were popping up. They were saying these are going to be plants, and it's just they've never been in manufacturing before. This is not
right.
It's not going to just pop up overnight and all of a sudden there's a plant. You have to partner with somebody that builds automobiles in order for this thing to work. Period.
I just don't. So what's Apple bring to the table?
Well, I mean, they are. I mean, they have the technology as far as the software, the R&D there. Now, where into, autonomous vehicles. I mean, I don't know what they've been. What do you know that I don't know? Because I haven't heard a lot of chatter about Apple being heavily involved in any of that, other than the speculation is they wanted to build one. That's it. That's all I know.
Yeah, well, so you may be onto something, because most of that R&D in terms of the AI portion of these cars, the machine learning, that is heavily born out of Silicon Valley. Now, I just thought of something. If you go back and you watch a recent episode of ours, the podcast is called Driving Over Dummies. Mm-hmm. And then did we release? I think either by the time this is out, it'll be out if it's not already. But there's a video segment.
The video segment will be out today.
Okay, so by the time you all get this, it's out. One thing that we know for sure is that the Korean manufacturers, I believe Hyundai and Kia, if I'm not mistaken, were both represented in that research, really did not have any good, solid collision avoidance system as it pertains to pedestrians. It was quite comical. Like
driving over
those cars
dummies,
just
man.
blew right. That's where the name of the episode came from. Those cars just didn't even bother to stop.
No.
So perhaps that's Apple's offering to the table. Apple doing partnerships, man. Yeah, I know it isn't a new thing. Do we really need somebody getting into another car manufacturer, as if the market wasn't already saturated enough?
Right, but it's a different environment, man. It's a different environment because of the push to EVs and autonomous technology and all this AI. And who do you turn to for that technology, man? You got to turn to the tech companies. You got to turn to your Googles, your Apples, and we pointed to this in the Ken Block segment.
All they have to do is just slap Apple's name on it, and people will just in droves. I mean,
yes.
It
by
could
the way, the
literally
video's
be,
out now.
Is it? Oh, thanks, Jay. It could literally be Turd version 2, and people would go by. I just, I mean,
it's true.
I just look. What's next? Are they going to have a cell phone with a camera lens that sticks out this far? I mean.
Right.
I'm sorry. They've lost their innovation. I don't.
Yeah. Well, you know who they're catering to? They're catering to the people out there that think that they are photographers.
Ooh, interesting. It's
just
good.
saying.
It's not bad.
I mean,
product.
they're great cameras, but you take all of the work out of it.
Not bad product. It's just not the Steve Jobs era innovation where they push the envelope. So maybe we'll be wrong. This will be a great thing. It'll certainly be a good thing for Hyundai to have Apple involved.
Yeah, oh, for sure, man. And, you know, just to kind of give you a little bit more information on that, guys. So this is it. I mean, this is how serious they are about this. Citing industry sources, the latest report said the pair plan to build those cars at Kia Motors factory in Georgia, or jointly invest in a new factory in the U.S. with a plan to produce 100,000 vehicles in 2024 at the proposed plant with an annual capacity of 400,000 vehicles. Kia Motors, as you guys well know, is an affiliate of Hyundai, so that's why they use joint facilities to get their product in the right spots at the right time. So anyway, it's interesting.
The stuff you learn on this program. Jay.
Will their logo change, you think?
In the words of Guns N' Roses, where do we go now?
Oh, yeah. All right, man. So, yeah, there might be 2 bites. No, it didn't. There might be 2 bites out of the Apple logo, you know, when this was over. So, all right. So, yeah, we're just loaded full of it today, man. Full of it today. So, where next? We're going, we're moving into our do you want to go talk about some RVs?
Yeah. No, well, let's go. Let's do the, would you rather go General Motors or Jeep?
I want to go Jeep, man.
I mean, we'll do both, but which one are we
doing? We're going to do both.
First?
Let's talk about Jeep. Let's go Jeep. Let's go there.
All right, I got to say, and maybe this is how I frame this. You guys watching, friends, subscribers, soon-to-be subscribers, people watching us on YouTube, we've done quite a few Jeep, Chrysler, Stellantis, FCA,
whatever they are now,
segments, and it is such a
matter of fact. We've got another Stellantis segment coming out.
Yeah.
It'll be on a video. You can check it out on our YouTube channel, and you got to go to youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. Sign up. Ring that bell.
This is what I want to know, okay? And let us know by the likes in the YouTube channel. We'll certainly be able to tell the number of views and watches. It's just such a head scratcher with this company. Like, some things are wildly popular, and some things that you think are going to be a big deal, people just don't care about. For example, the Grand Cherokee concept that we talked about, just not one of our more popular videos, as I recall. Now, it might have something to do with the fact that I use the Animal Crossing cartoons to, I don't know, to animate that segment. But
are we talking about the Wagoneer?
Oh yeah, that was it.
Not the Cherokee, the Wagoneer.
Sorry, the Wagoneer. I stand corrected.
The big, their luxury flagship of years ago. Talking about bringing it back. So, yeah, I get you. Yeah, it's a head scratcher.
That's why I got you here, man, just to keep me honest. But I just don't know. Like, it just seems like, first of all, the owners of this organization have been trying to kill the company for decades. And second of all, it's just such a hot and cold topic with auto enthusiasts. Like, they either love them or they don't. So, we've got some news from Jeep. We've got several things. Which one of these do you want to cherry pick first?
Several things from Jeep, you say?
Well, there's one, and then there's kind of a little
we've got
agenda at the end, and
yeah. Well, so
hey, I know. Why don't you just take it from here, Jay, and I'll just sit here and.
Well, we want to talk about the Jeep Grand Cherokee reveal that just recently happened. Is that the doorbell ringing?
Yeah, it is. It's somebody at my door.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Would you like me to answer it on the air? Might make for good.
It could for good conversation. You never know, especially if it's somebody from Amazon bringing you some Apple gear.
Carry on. I'll see if I can pull him up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, we wanted to talk about the Jeep Grand Cherokee reveal that just happened, and basically all it is just it's called the Grand Cherokee L. that's slated to be out in, I think, 2022. They're calling it a 2021, but I don't know that the production has already started. I'd have to look into that a little bit deeper, but there's already some 2021 Grand Cherokees out there, different editions. Basically, they've added a third row of seats. Yeah, they've got their new air ride technology on this thing you can adjust the clearance, and everybody's going to this, pick your poison as to what type of terrain you want to drive over. All these electronic shift stuff. It wasn't really, for me, it wasn't that. I thought it was going to be something extraordinary. And
yeah, they do that a lot. They suck you in on kind of this grand pomp and circumstance, and then it's like, well, that's cool, but it's not. Is this going to matter? Is this going to matter enough to sell more vehicles for them?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that maybe the loyal Grand Cherokee fan, maybe. I mean, the bottom line is, man, if you look at this vehicle,
if you're a Grand Cherokee fan, you're already in line to buy another one, right? I mean,
pretty much.
Sorry,
pretty much.
If you look at this vehicle,
if you look at this vehicle, it's a luxury vehicle. It's not really. I mean, some of the stuff that they put on this thing, I mean, I would reserve it for something else. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I mean, this is a luxury. This is like a.
Well, it's
like a Tahoe or an Escalade.
Okay, so there's two possibilities here. And all I do, Jay, is just repeat back. I parrot back to you things that you've said. Number one, could this be following along in your concept of live polling, where
of course
they're actually thinking about doing a Wagoneer, and they're maybe serious about it? I mean, they keep spamming me in my email inbox about it.
Right.
And they're going to put this technology to the test first in the Cherokee. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good angle on that. I think so.
Also, and certainly not the first time they've done this, another player, i.e. Ford, comes out with a Bronco, and Jeep goes, "Hey, we got V8s in our Jeeps now." Just saying.
Right.
Can't get that in a Bronco.
Right.
So maybe, fresh off the heels of the new Tahoe Suburban announcement, what was it, 2 or 3 months ago? Not even that long.
Right.
Jeep goes, "Hey, us too. Look, we got an extra row now." Does that L stand for long or luxury or I don't know?
I'm not sure. I would say probably, yeah.
I mean, they just, if that's true and I'm right, and I hope I'm not, it's just a Me Too game, and they're not being innovative.
Not really. I mean, to add an extra row of seats.
Ooh.
I mean, what? We're just going to cram more people in there. Why? I mean, it's an off-roading vehicle, right?
Now, is this the one that you pointed out had the Macintosh sound system?
Yes, this is it. I mean, everything about this vehicle.
It's really more of a Wagoneer, is it not?
I think so. I think it is a Wagoneer without the Wagoneer badge. I really do. I mean, and remember in the reveal of the Wagoneer, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing here, it was discussed in that video. So I think you're absolutely correct. And again, your angle on the live polling, again, we're struck again with that. That's what's happening.
Okay.
But
now,
there's
another angle here. You picked this out towards the end of the announcement.
I found it interesting. When I watched this, they mentioned, or the gentleman, I guess he was the CEO in the reveal, mentioned that 4xe was going to be likely coming, a model with 4xe, which is their plug-in hybrid version of I mean, this is what this is, plug-in hybrid, 4xe. The Wrangler came out earlier with the technology. So, what is this? What sparked that? I mean, did Rivian upset the apple cart with all these, 4x4s going for an all-electric or a hybrid version? I mean, is that what everybody is looking at going, oh, me first kind of a thing? I mean, what's the word on that?
Here's the danger, I think, in the way they're trying to do this. Again, I hope I'm wrong. This seems to be driven by analysts sitting in a room with the board of directors saying, well, off-road vehicles are big this year. We're seeing a huge spike in, it basically was one of the only bright spots in Ford's fourth quarter, all those Bronco pre-orders. Electric vehicles are sales numbers are going crazy.
Going through the roof, yeah.
And you become an automotive company that's chasing trends, okay? Whereas I feel like Ford, and I have my own reservations about how they did the Bronco, but I feel like at least bringing the Bronco back was pushing the envelope. That they said, hey, we're going to do a four-wheel, we're going to do a true off-road vehicle. We think it's time. We're bringing the Bronco badge back.
And true.
And they took a risk.
Yeah.
The Mach-E is not really a risk if you look at what it is. It's basically a model to compete with the Tesla Model Y.
Absolutely, it is. My
point is this. I hope whatever their name is this year, we'll go with Stellantis, takes note and tries to do a little bit more innovation. Hey, I got no problem with the Hellcat. I got no problem with the crazy, cool retro Challenger. That's all great. I think you gotta put your stamp, your brand out there, and it can't just be, here's another SUV, us too. I don't know, man. Well, I'm just one guy.
I have an idea on where, for example, the last thing that I said was about the 4xe technology, the plug-in hybrid versions of these things. Now, what do you do with that? I mean, if anything, everybody's really been paying attention to what's going on, related to the pandemic. What have people been doing a lot more of just to kind of entertain themselves and enjoy themselves? Well, they've been going RVing. They've been going off the grid. They just want to get away. And you got to have a vehicle to tow some of those things in a lot of instances. And there's been a lot of chatter with Airstream and their EV Assist technology that they're putting together. What is the biggest factor with a hybrid vehicle or an all-electric vehicle is range. So maybe Jeep is playing the long game here with introducing this 4xe and showing people, hey, we've got a vehicle with great towing capacity, off-roading. You unhook the trailer, we can go off-road. But if you've got these new smart RVs, which there's a lot of that stuff going on right now, and you're big into it, the technology that goes into some of these RVs, wouldn't it be nice to have a vehicle that you could pair that to? Already ready to go off-road.
That would be smart, and I hope you're right.
So that may be the case here.
I'm going to be a little bit of a Nancy negative.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
That's why we do what we do.
Of the list of brands in the Stellantis acquisition, merger, whatever you want to call it. And Jay, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you can go to youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. You can check out our video on it where my son, Sideshot, was involved in that, and we talked about the merger.
I do.
Are there any brands that come to mind that are part of that merger that have done the legwork, that have the R&D, that could potentially be resourceful in some sort of electrification platform? Anything?
Is this a trick question?
No, I'm just saying, unless you can think of one.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, what did I miss?
It's just a bunch of Tic Tac mobiles. I mean, yeah, they got Maserati. Yeah, they got,
Right. There's nothing in the group.
Everything in the United States is Ram trucks, Jeep, Chrysler,
Dodge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only other, and I don't know, of course, Mercedes is not part of Stellantis at all. They're not
Correct.
Part of that group. But early on, there was that relationship with Mercedes-Benz for the Sprinter vans.
Right.
And they badged those under the Dodge Sprinter. And then Mercedes is like, we're not going to. They had so much, issue with that. And then they went to Freightliner, and Freightliner's doing a package deal with them, and Mercedes is selling them as well. Now, Mercedes just recently said, "Hey, we're coming to America with the cranking wagon."
But
Okay,
if you're, again, Stellantis,
right?
you got nobody in house. You got a lot of car badges under your brand.
Have to be
now.
a third party to get you there.
And that to me says this is a long shot. I hope I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I hope what you're. Let's just all agree right now that Jay needs to be the new CEO of Stellantis, because I honestly feel like the company would go in a better direction than they are today. I may be wrong. It just ain't looking good.
Yeah.
Would you just be making electrified Jeeps with Macintosh sound systems in them, or would you be here? What would your first order of business as the new CEO? What vehicle would you put top of the list to produce? This is Jay. We're going to job interview Jay, everybody.
Top of the list for Stellantis, as Stellantis being.
So they just
Wow.
You're talking to the board. You know,
Yeah.
you're one of 3 finalists. Okay,
I would certainly, the top of the list would definitely be Jeep would be the top of the list for me.
but
to
what would
work
you
on.
do? Like, would it be a new Jeep that we haven't seen, or would it
Yes.
be okay?
It would be something new and innovative, and I would think an all electric vehicle of some sort on the Jeep side. Something
Okay.
there. That's just my opinion.
All
That's
right,
what I
so
would do.
here we go,
'Cause
ladies and gentlemen.
I know what the trends are.
If you support Jay for the CEO of Stellantis, please give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and
No.
we'll let you know when the letter comes in.
Nope. Look, actually, I'm gonna have a vote, and we're gonna change the name.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? We don't want it to rhyme with praying mantis
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right?
Yeah. All right. Speaking of CEOs,
Way to put me on the spot.
Jay,
Yeah, speaking of
that was
CEOs,
fun.
yes.
I mean, I think the audience enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it.
Well,
I
am here for your entertainment, man.
Speaking of CEOs,
Ooh, let's speak of that.
actually, I want to talk about the CEO of GM. We've talked about her a lot. But before we do, let's talk about the company as a whole. I'm talking about General Motors.
Yeah, GM, man. Wow. Oof. Not in good shape.
What the heck's going on, man?
I don't know, man. This whole Nikola merger that started, back in the fall, early fall, with this, and then all of a sudden, a few days afterwards, it turns out that the CEO has decided that he wants to bail out.
Well, he got attention
caught
drawn
with it.
to him
He
by
got
some
caught.
short sell research firms, and they said,
Yeah.
hey, he doesn't have a working model. I'll do you one better. Back up even before that, when GM lost their CFO. You remember that?
I do recall that.
If you don't remember that, you can find it on our YouTube channel where we talked about it, and on the podcast at partscounterguru.com. You can sign up for the podcast there. And we said, what does she know?
Right.
I hate to say I told you so.
Exactly, man, because we were saying in that particular episode, something smells fishy here, because typically someone in the automotive industry, if you leave a company,
For a credit card processing firm.
yeah,
Didn't
typically
go
it's
like to Ford or Tesla.
right.
Or,
Typically
right?
it's a lateral move you're making, going over here because they offered you more money and maybe their vision is a little bit better than what you're seeing now. But she completely got completely out of the industry, and I don't know, man. I mean, so I forgot about that little bit of, tidbit of controversy. There's a lot
first
of
things first,
layers.
they're changing their logo. Because, you
Right.
know, when you can't compete on actual quality of product, just come up with a new logo, right?
That's it.
Now look, you guys, I'm poking fun here. There's been some exciting things that GM has done. That new C8 Corvette is amazing.
it is.
Okay. You can't buy one even though it's been in production for 2 years. So that part, not so amazing. Okay.
Right.
And again, it's like we try our best to love these guys. They do some great things. The Suburban, I'm super thrilled about what they're doing with the new Suburban and the Tahoe.
Right.
And then it's like we talk about on this program the Nikola partnership that Jay, you just alluded to. And all this
Yeah.
news comes out, and then GM comes out shortly after and says, "No, we're sticking to our guns. It's going through."
Yeah, it's been a rocky road, and I mean it seems like every week there's new information or something, some move they're making. I mean, there was no hesitation for them to come on out with the GMC Hummer EV, which was revealed back in October. We thought that that's where the Nikola partnership really was going to shine. But, back to that partnership, some of the debacle there, which is this guy, Trevor, what's his last name?
Trevor Milton.
Trevor Milton. He, claimed that he invented his technology, the fuel cell technology, in a basement. Turns out it was some third party that he bought it from. There was a controversy of how it was powered up when he was revealing the big rig, that it was actually not powered on its own. They revealed that it did not get out there on its own. He comes back and says, well,
one of his engineers said,
but he comes back and says, well, I never really said that it was. Just making it look like it was. This seems like some sort of scheme here, man. Like somebody's pulling the wool over somebody's eyes. And then he resigns. He ends up resigning, but was taken over by one of GM's top executives.
Which honestly is the smart move, because you put somebody with experience at the table, and you get rid of the troublesome part, right?
Right.
Okay, so, Jay, I know GM's making a push towards electrification.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just, you and I have talked to designers about logos and that sort of stuff before. What is going on in these boardrooms where somebody goes, yeah, I think we just need to change from caps to lowercase, and that's it, man. Nothing says electrification in the new GM like lowercase letters. I mean, you've seen the logo, I'm sure.
Right.
It's just lowercase g, lowercase m.
Right. Our logo looks,
Way to go for a huge change, General Motors.
Right. Which, by the way, the designer of our logo, hey, man, great job, buddy. Daniel, thank you so much.
We would happily put you in touch with Daniel.
We can put you in touch with Daniel.
He will do a better job than whatever this is.
Right. And actually, he's in your neck of the woods, too. So if you want me to have my people put you in touch with his people, hey, your people and his people, whatever, we can make that happen. So
what is going on in this organization? So controversy seems to abound. Now, I'm not trying to beat up on Mary, CEO.
Yeah.
You found some information here about recent stock sales, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't know this, and we're doing research on this whole subject matter. And again, the layers that you peel back, it's like going down into a rabbit hole, man. CEO Mary Barra, she basically has reportedly sold nearly 175,000 shares of GM stock. This went down at the end of November. It was November 18th to be exact. The total valuation was nearly $7.7 million. According to a recent report from American Banking and Market News, Barra made the transaction with an average stock price of $44.01. She still owns 1,333,224 shares, with an estimated value of $675,188. Wow. Now, here's an interesting thing. The recent GM stock performance marks a third consecutive week of growth since then. Also, by the way, what's going on here?
Yeah, this is not uncommon. Bezos has done it.
Yeah,
Elon's done it. Jobs did it. Tim Cook's done it. And when I say this,
are they playing the system?
I mean, selling their shares. It happens. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit unusual with the case that we just laid out. There's a very questionable Nikola partnership going on. A lot of people, us included, I guess I'll speak for Jay here too. Don't expect Nikola to be around through the end of this year. I just don't, So you're in questionable times. You have a situation where there's a supply chain issue. You can't make Corvettes fast enough. You're having other issues, right? Mm-hmm. Tough sales. GM's already announced that they did not have a great summer because of the pandemic. So numbers are not great, okay? Yes, they announced some electrification platforms like the Lyriq. We'll get to that in a minute. But this smells to me, hope I'm wrong, like I'm taking my lifeboats and I'm selling them before the Titanic hits that iceberg. And I'm not saying GM's going to go completely under, but tough times may lie ahead. Well, and it may be time to protect your nest egg.
Well, they've certainly got their irons in the fire right now with this whole EV push. Okay, and speaking of the logo, that's kind of what fueled this conversation a little bit. They are dedicated to the EV world. Okay,
no question. They've made it very clear. She has made it very clear. They believe that's their future.
Yeah, she says that they are currently accelerating its various EV programs, including the all-new Lyriq crossover. And it was obviously recently confirmed. Providing the juice in GM's range of new EV products will be the automaker's Ultium battery and drive technology. Now, their battery and drive technology could be their savior.
Might be the best out there.
Yeah, it could be. And then all of these other EV, like Toyota, maybe that, are they coming to GM and saying, hey, is that what GM is going to be? Are they going to be an electrification company and not an auto manufacturer? What's happening here? Who knows? Because they've sold off like their Lordstown plant to Lordstown. That's an all-electric company now. They're making moves that puts them at the heart of this movement. Period.
Okay, you're on the board, General Motors. What? Are you comfortable as a majority shareholder in that brand?
Only if I know what they know.
Like, let's just say what you know right now,
If I'm on the outside looking in, right, on the outside looking in, I'm very nervous.
Okay, yeah.
Period. If I'm on the outside looking in, I'm very nervous. Because there really seems to be no clear direction until they said, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, true to that, they have invested, billions of dollars into the Spring Hill, Tennessee plant where the Lyriq is going to be produced.
Yep.
I think that's probably going to be the same location where the Hummer EV is going to be as well. And there are scattered about the country, most of them up in Michigan, scattered about the country. Their battery technology plants, development, research and development, production. So for me, it's clear that they may be abandoning, the internal combustion engine. I don't know.
All right,
I could be wrong.
This is what I think.
Oh, I'm listening, man. I'm all ears.
This is my prediction. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here so that I don't get all this hate mail. We welcome your letters.
30 new electric vehicles that they have committed to by the year 2025.
Okay. We have a little bit of uncertainty right now, economically. Things have been pretty good. Been some great surprises this year, but we were all nervous. Car sales have been down. Automotive sales across the board have been down. Mm-hmm. Typically, how the automotive industry goes in terms of their sales volume here in the United States is how the economy goes. Yes?
Right. Okay. Yes, absolutely.
So the minute that we see tough times, and we've already had supply chain issues in abundance right now. Mm-hmm. Good luck. Go get an Xbox, right? Good luck with that.
Right.
Anything that's electronics. Which,
by the way, did you ever get yours?
I did. That's a whole other story.
Okay. Right.
We had we worked with the folks over at AERA. It took them months to get microphones, right? Earlier last year.
Yeah.
So I'm making the case here that we're a little bit on shaky ground economically. Okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe not. Just certainly looks and feels that way to me.
Well,
okay?
With recent things going on in the political world, just because we're the U.S. having our thing here, that doesn't mean that it doesn't impact the rest of the world, and it already has. So just keep that in mind, folks.
So the minute things get shaky, and we know this because of 2008, right, with the recession that happened there, people are going to go for cheaper cars that cost less to operate.
Absolutely.
So those massive truck sales that you have right now, GM, that's going to tank.
Right.
The Hummer EV that costs over $100,000, as great as it looks like it's going to be, probably not going to sell too many of them.
Nope.
Giant Suburbans, Tahoes, gas guzzlers, probably not. What have you got that people can get into? Not talking about a Cadillac Lyriq that's going to cost over 50 grand.
Right.
That people are going to be able to get into in tough times.
Right.
That keeps your company afloat in terms of sales. You see where I'm going with this?
I do.
Ford has a Mach-E that could do a low end of that.
Right.
Tesla's got their Model Y, Model 3, right?
Right.
What does GM have right now? Now, I know Bolt, but that's a hybrid still, sort of, right? Is it all electric?
It's all electric, man.
What's the range on that thing?
Let's look that up. Range?
While you're looking that up, so that's where I would have my head right now is, do we have an offering in that arena? Because if you don't, and things get bad, it's too late. It will take you another year to spin that up at the least. And last I checked, that Bolt or the Volt were not range competitive with like a Model 3. Even the low-end Model 3.
EPA estimated 259 miles on a full charge.
Well, that's improved, so that's good.
And that's as of 2020. That's the latest, and they've updated that, which puts them in. They challenged that market with that little entry-level vehicle, which, by the way, guys, I haven't done it yet. I know Keith is tired of hearing me say this, but I've got a relationship with a local Chevrolet supplier here that has basically handed me the front door and said, open it and go choose what you want to drive. And he pushed me. He says, you know what you really ought to do first, the story on first, because we're selling the heck out of these things? That's the Bolt. They have been selling the heck out of the Chevy Bolt. So I'm gonna do a test drive on one. And
this is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Jay has the opportunity, any General Motors vehicle, and he's going for the $35,000 EV. And I'm like, dude, get the Corvette.
Right. Well, I did sit in the Corvette. I had pictures of that with me sitting in it. That's about all I got.
All right, which one's going to get more likes, Jay? You doing burnouts in a Corvette, or
I'm thinking the Vet, man. I am definitely thinking the Vet. But anyway, just to my point, though.
I'm having fun at your expense. You know that, right?
My point, though, they had a lot of these little rides. Because he asked me, have you ever driven one? He goes, you'd be surprised how fast these things are and what they do. He goes, yes, it's a tiny little car. I get it. But why it's so popular here is most people work remotely here. They're not commuting all the time anyway because we're a large tech sector. So most people work remotely. The people that do live in Seattle and south of Seattle and around the Seattle area work remotely as well. But the ones that do live, they live in downtown, in the district, the tech district. They don't have to drive. But those that do locally, and I don't know what it is out here. People tend to be a little bit more, maybe conscious of the environment or want to do their part by buying an electric vehicle. But there are a lot of Teslas out here, a lot of these electric vehicles out here where I'm at. So anyway, but the Bolt is really about the only entry level vehicle that they have to compete. Do they have a Tesla to compete with? No, that's where the Lyriq's going to come in.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So maybe they're better positioned than I'm thinking. I'm just nervous for them, and I will revert back to something that I said on a previous podcast. I'm this way with Apple. I'm hard on these guys because I love them and I want them to do well, and I'm nervous when I see things like a logo change that's really not a logo change and.
Well, there's a little behind it, though.
All right.
They wanted to keep it familiar, and their whole idea, but it's instead of going uppercase, normal font style, they go to a lowercase and they square off the humps in the M and make it look like an electrical plug. And that was the intent to signify their move and their commitment to the EV world. And then the blue fading into a lighter blue is supposed to, like represent cleaner air or something. So that's, I get it. Whoop-de-doo. You could have done all that without changing the logo.
I want to be that salesperson. Or, I want to have an opportunity to speak and sell to whomever agreed to that, because that is such a crock. Yeah. You bought that? You bought yourself I can't. It's, wow.
Yeah, you kind of wonder who's making those decisions.
What's going on in the decision-making process there, right? You just made my point for me.
Right. And, look, as a company, man, logo changes signifies, in a lot of cases, we got issues.
Or a major directional shift.
Major dramatic change. Because if you look at the blue oval of Ford, how long has that been their logo, man?
So if you want to signify, let's assume that it's not trouble. Let's assume that it's a major directional shift.
I think that's what it is.
Let's make a minor adjustment to the logo.
Let's hope that's what it is, and that's why we wanted to kind of put this Nikola thing in there, because that's scary, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're skeptical, man.
Man, it's just making me nervous. It's making me nervous.
So guys, everybody listening to this right now, you know how to go to our website, partscounterguru.com. Easy. We have a comment section. Leave us a comment about this, man. We want to know your thoughts on this whole GM Nikola thing and the change with their logo. What do you think that what about it? What does it say to you when you saw this? What does it mean to you when you saw this? What's your thoughts on it? But you can go to partscounterguru.com, leave us a comment. You can also, on that same page, hit our podcast links, which you can get to any of our podcast platforms. You can also, if we mention anything on the podcast that you can purchase, we have a podcast mention on the podcast tab there as well. I might as well just go through the whole thing here, right, Keith? Look, if you're following us and you're a fan of us and you're in our audience right now, but you haven't started following us on social media, you can do that. Go to facebook.com/partscountergurus. Like us, follow us, share, tell a friend. Same way on Instagram, instagram.com. But we are the Parts Counter Gurus over on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Our handle is @TheCounterShow, which is what you're listening to right now. YouTube, our video segments, which I will guarantee you that there's going to be a video form of this out there in the near future. Go to youtube.com/PartsCounterGurus. And when you are there, subscribe so that you know when those videos come out. But in order to know when they come out, you have to be, first, subscribe, and you have to ring that bell. And then when you watch the video, man, just give us a thumbs up. It helps us out.
You know what I think I'm going to have to do
free to you.
On this last video is, those witness protection videos where they tile out, they pixelate the...
Is that you, man?
I'm going to have to pixelate myself so that when I'm, talking to the audience, I'm going to get... Otherwise, I'm going to get so much hate mail from all these GM fanboys that...
No, man, I tell you what, there's a lot of people out there slamming them over this. You're going to be fine.
I hate GM. I just don't want to see them make bad choices. This is what I tell my kids. I don't hate you. I just want what's best for you.
They were one of the two of the three that took bailout money.
Yep.
And they almost royally screwed that up.
I really feel like they've never fully recovered.
We know that Dodge never did. Chrysler never did. We know that. Look at where they're at now. Where's GM going to end up? Who knows? Will they be... Does this logo change, maybe change the name? Maybe there's another G and an M that it's supposed to, maybe it's no longer going to be General Motors. It's going to be something else. Like Going Mad. I don't know. What do you think?
Hey, leave us a comment. Let us know, what do you think the new GM logo should stand for? I would read. I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas on that.
Yeah. I want to know too, So what else you got, pal?
Well, I think it's time, Jay. I would like to say in closing, Man, I hope we turn a corner here soon on not just this pandemic, but the number of deaths that we have seen in 2020. And I'm particularly saddened by, all the baseball greats that we've lost. That's just a subject near and dear to my heart. So recently, we lost Tommy Lasorda. If you don't know who Tommy Lasorda is, I mean, he had one of the longest careers in baseball that I know of, decades and decades and decades with the Dodgers, and only with that organization, as far as I know.
Yeah, class guy, man.
Great manager, great storyteller. I think the pairing of Vin Scully and Tommy Lasorda is just what it was such a fantastic match.
They go back to the Brooklyn days, I think.
Yeah,
those two guys.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It sure does feel like we lost a lot more than an average year than this year. Now I know technically he died in 2021, but man,
it's close enough.
I don't know what's going on here. I know not all of them are related to COVID, but
It's funny you say that, Keith, because if you look at the list of people that have passed away this year, and typically, I mean, this is the way it's supposed to go. People get on up in their age, their 80s and their 90s, and just because of age, things just, your body just, it starts shutting down, and that's just the cycle of life. That's the way it goes. So you would expect to open up the pages and the headlines and see someone in their 90s, pass away. But what has been to us, and I said this in a video that we did recently, the podcast we had about who we lost in 2020. You can go check that out at partscounterguru.com. It's a good podcast. And what blew me away when I was doing all the research, Keith, was the number of people. It was almost exponential over the previous year. So while they may not have all had COVID has had an effect on the human body in other ways other than contracting the virus. Stresses of what's going on in our world right now. Not being able to have that person to reach out to because you're of fear of getting sick. The social aspect of it. And when I think of my grandparents as they were aging, it meant everything to them to have their kids and their grandkids come by on a Saturday or a Sunday and visit them. Can you imagine being that age and having grandkids and great-grandkids and not being able to see them, how that must break the heart? So you kind of wonder how much of COVID has had an effect in that manner of one's well-being and not physically having the virus. That's something to think about. And they've said that all along about kids being out of school and not being in school because of it, and the effects of that from a social standpoint, from developing socially, being with the kid next door in your classroom, and then that sort of stuff. I know I'm going in a roundabout way to get you back to where you were going with that, but I do personally believe that the impacts of this virus are not just contracting the virus. That it's going to have, and you've read it. I mean, there's been studies on it, how much of an effect that it's having on the human psyche right now. I mean, depression is big. People are committing suicide. I mean, it's just crazy. The number, the layers you peel back on what the effects of this pandemic has been. So there you go. That's my 2 cents. Yeah,
and by the way, it's okay. I'm like a jazz musician. Like, you can just try to throw crazy note changes at me, and I'll still improvise my way out of it. So it's
I know, man. That's why I love you, man.
So I wanted to find, and he had many stories. Tommy Lasorda did. I just was, wanted to find something fitting of Tommy Lasorda. I'm a big fan of, putting our best foot forward, to say it mildly. And this is one of my favorites. Okay, and it's a well-known one. And I will leave you guys with this. Again, thanks everybody for watching, subscribing, liking, telling a friend. Check us out on our website at partscounterguru.com if you have not already done so.
Yep.
And Until next time, Jay, I'm going to leave you with the words of the late, great Tommy Lasorda.
I can't
There are
wait.
3 kinds of people in this world. There's the people who make it happen, the people who watch it happen, and the people that wonder what happened.
That is perfect and fitting.
That's Jay over there, everybody. I'm Keith. We'll see you next time.